when I was talking about it conversely, and I was thinking about Cody and special forces, the problem that I really hit me that the problem that Cody has had, and I've always known this, is that emotionally Cody's a coward. He's afraid. And that's why he's so afraid of somebody seeing him, seeing his flaws, and him having to take accountability that he's not perfect and he doesn't know everything and he doesn't do everything right. He's so afraid of that that he refuses to talk to anybody in any real specific manner. Are you alive or just breathing? Communication. Communication is one of those things that it's always talked about. In order to have a great relationship, you got to have really strong communication. You got to be able to talk to each other. You got to have communication bonds have to be really, really strong, right? That's one of the things that you say. Oh, well, if you guys have a disagreement, why don't you sit down and have a conversation with them? Why don't you talk to them? Because communication is key. And when I watched Cody on this week's special forces, as well as his entire time on special forces, I'm gonna be honest, as well as his entire time on Sister Wives, including tonight's episode, something really stuck out to me as I was watching it. The idea about when you think about communication and relationships, do you think it's about talking or is it about listening? Is about communicating your perspective, your ideas, and getting those across? Or is it about understanding what the other person is talking about? What are they saying? Now, when you start to talk about these things in this perspective, we have to take the hint that just having communication is not going to solve your problems. Talking about shit is not going to solve your problems. This is one of the complaints I had last week when Robyn was sitting there communicating with Cody about how things could have been different with the sister wives. And she looked at Cody in the face and said, it would have been so great and so wonderful if you would have just looked at one of us while we're sitting at the table with all the other ladies around and just say, I got you. I got you. Girl, I got you. That shit is cute. But you know what would have been better than him just merely communicating that he has you? Is for him to stop, listen to what they're saying, understand what they are trying to communicate to him, what they're saying they need from him in this relationship, and thereby go about the business of doing the work to show them that you got them, that you're on their side, that you have their back. Because all the communication, all the chit chat and jibber jabbing in the world doesn't make a damn bit of difference when the rubber meets the road and the bills come due. These women didn't leave Cody because he didn't tell them enough that I got you. They left him because they felt in their soul, they felt in their hearts, they felt in their minds, they felt in their spirits, and they looked in their children's faces and they saw that Cody didn't have them. So if you believe that communication will solve everything, I guess, yeah, that shit works. But see, in the real world, the actual world, it's not just about talking. It's about listening. It's about understanding. And more importantly, it's about doing the work. And I think that that's what we see. Too often when we talk about like Cody and he presented himself and he talked about masculine man and manly man and how you're going to be a man and this is what men do. And that's what he's talking about all throughout his time on special forces. The funny thing about that is, as he's talking about being a masculine man who's a manly man and who's a leader because I'm a man and I have manly stuff and I have the man's parts and therefore I'm equipped to lead. The one thing that I've noticed is that physically Cody is able to do a lot of this stuff on special forces. Mentally, he's failing at every turn. Why? Because he doesn't have the ability to listen and understand. He doesn't listen to the staff when they try to tell him what the instructions are. He doesn't listen to his fellow recruits on special forces, the other cast members on special forces, to understand where they are, what they're capable of, what's going on with them, what their perspective is, what they understand the task to be. He doesn't work well with others. And that, my friends, is a reflection of what we've been watching for 20 seasons on Sister Wives. Kody doesn't work well with others because he doesn't take time to listen and understand what these women are talking about, what they need. Instead, he tells them what they need. They say, oh, no. When he's talking to Robyn, is a perfect example tonight. When he was talking to Robyn about dancing, Robyn said, oh, no, I don't like dancing with you because you don't dance with me. I'm just a prop so that you can go out there and basically dance with yourself. Right? And that's a young man's thing. That's what usually what the young cats do before you realize that, it's not sexy if you dripping sweat. Unless your name Michael Jackson, Usher, Justin Timberlake, Chris Brown, or somebody, sit your ass down, hit that two-step, baby. Go two-step all night. You know what I mean? Drop that two-step. But when it came down to it, Robyn said that she didn't feel comfortable dancing with Kody. And part of the reason why when she said she didn't feel comfortable dancing with Kody, because she's like, you don't consider me. And I think that that's a big thing. Like, basically what she was saying was, when we go out dancing, you don't consider me. You don't see me. You don't think of me as being your partner. I'm just there and you're trying to lead me around. The funny part about that is, even after expressing these concerns, and she said, I don't mind going out dancing with you because that's something you want to do, but I want to take lessons to learn how to do it so we can do it with each other and we can both enjoy it. And at that time, Kody said, I don't give a shit. I just want to go do what I want to do, and try to force her into doing the thing that he wanted to do his way, which is also very reminiscent to something that was talked about during Special Forces. Because during the question, if you guys haven't seen it, this week, if you're a Sister Wife fan and you're looking for Kody Brown's portion, this was the kind of the week for it. Because the DMs called him into an interview, and while they were questioning him, they started talking about his kids. And he started talking about his responsibility to his kids and why he doesn't get along with his family. And Kody, of course, tries to come back with some bullshit about, the kids don't like me. They didn't listen to me, and they don't like me for whatever reason. I don't know. I did the best I could with what I had, and they just didn't think it was good enough. Oh, well, basically taking blame from himself. And these men sat there and told him that he has to take responsibility for his own actions. And they went even went as far as to say, you're mad at them because they refuse to dance to your tune. You're okay with them as long as they do what you want them to do. But the moment that they diverge away from following your strict orders, your strict expectations, all of a sudden you have a problem with them and you got to get rid of them. And that's what it is. You have to learn to start taking accountability and be responsible for your own actions. I don't know. That sounds kind of like you got to man the hell up. I know that's a little shorter than what these guys said, but that's basically what it is. You got to man up, bro. You have to be an adult. It's not even so much gender specific. You have to be an adult. You're too damn old to sit around and think that you can get everything you want, the way you want, when you want, how you want, from everyone you want. That's not realistic. And in case, news flash, in case nobody ever told you, the sun doesn't rise and set in the crack of your ass. So therefore, you have to act like there are other people in the world. And I think that was a strong lesson. Ironically, especially understanding that this show was filmed a year ago and he still doesn't talk to any of his kids, that he learned nothing from those experiences. He learned nothing from those conversations. And this is where I get back to the whole idea of the ineffective nature of simply pressing and forcing communication. If you just think that communicating and talking things out are going to solve your problem, you are sorely mistaken and you're going to be incredibly disappointed. Why? Because it takes people who are willing to participate in the discussion. Communication requires participation. Not just participation with you getting your point across, but communication in trying to understand what the other person is saying. And this is a skill called active listening, right? It's not just you, I hear you, I hear you. Physically, yeah, you hear their mouth, you hear noises. But active listening is actually thinking about and considering and, to some level critiquing what the person is saying so that you can understand it. And from there, if you have a disagreement or you want to create a rebuttal or you want to respond, you have the ability to respond from that point. And what I've seen thus far with the show is that Cody is failing on that point of communication. you know because again, communication only works if both people are engaged in understanding, not just performing. If he wants to just do the which is what part of the reason why I don't really have a huge presence. Like I don't mind Facebook, I'll go on it every now and again, but I don't have a huge presence on social media for that reason, because there's too often, especially in some of these forums, when people fall into their echo chambers, they just want to shout whatever it is that they have, and they call themselves wanting to go out and debate and discuss, but they don't want to debate and discuss. What they want to do is they want to shout their script at you and just try to force you to believe what they believe. And if you don't believe what they believe, then all of a sudden you didn't do your research, you've been influenced by the wrong people, you're not smart, or whatever the case may be, because you don't understand the world the way I do. And that has never moved the needle towards understanding. When we talk about freedom of speech, we're talking about the idea of open discourse, not just you saying whatever you want to say. And I think that that's a lesson that Cody needs to learn. Now, when we look at it, because I mean, just to kind of take a step back, there's also another reason why Cody doesn't want to do the lessons, because he don't want somebody to tell him what to do. He wants to be in charge. So he'd rather do shit wrong, which we've seen clearly on Special Forces. He'd rather do it wrong his way than right following somebody else. And that to me is indicative of somebody who lacks maturity and doesn't have a strong understanding of what true leadership is. Because leadership is not like, there's leadership and there's being a boss. If you're a boss, you try to put people to work for you. If you're a leader, you work with the people who are following you. There's a distinct difference. And I think that Cody tries to fall into the boss category, where it's all about celebrating and exalting himself and not necessarily achieving or reaching a goal or achieving an accomplishment, any of that. So I think that that's part of the problem. Now, conversely, as we're talking about communication, I think that it's very interesting that we had on the other side of it, Christine and David's discussion of Peyton. According to them, they had an argument about Peyton, where they were saying that David was basically taking a position that when he talks to Peyton, tries to talk to Peyton about deep things, emotional things that are going on in his life, Peyton oftentimes will fall back to quoting a movie or a television show. Now, here's the thing. I don't mind that as much if it's done for a purpose with intent. So if it's done as an example, like as an analogy or something of that effect, then I think there's room for that. But I understand what David is saying, because I too have had I've known people like that, where you try to talk to them about what's going on with them or what's happening in their lives, and all they want to talk about is what next movie is coming out. And that is frustrating to a point. If that's what Peyton is doing, that is frustrating, because it demonstrates not only a lack of depth, but there's a lack of trust, because you don't trust me. That's why you don't want to tell me things about you. So you rather talk about superfluous things that don't matter, than actually have a deeper discussion about what's going on in your life. You'd rather tell me about the Joker and Batman and the Marvel movies and the next Tom Cruise movie coming out, or what Denzel Washington got going on. You rather talk about that, or the K-pop sensation, or what's happening with the Swifties, but you don't want to talk about what's going on in your life. How is your family doing? How is your relationship coming along? Those kind of things, because those things make you vulnerable. And this is also one of the things that, when I was talking about it conversely, and I was thinking about Cody and Special Forces, the problem that I really hit me, that the problem that Cody has had, and I've always known this, is that emotionally Cody's a coward. He's afraid. And that's why he's so afraid of somebody seeing him, seeing his flaws, and him having to take accountability that he's not perfect and he doesn't know everything and he doesn't do everything right. He's so afraid of that he refuses to talk to anybody in any real specific manner. So everything that he talks about, if you listen to him even during interviews, and this is, a couple of the cast members do this as well, but if you listen to them during interviews, they will talk about things in broad general terms. They don't ever come down onto a point. They never make a statement where they're like, this is what it is, and you could buy that for $1, as Linda would say. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Right? They never do that. They merely come out with, polygamy is a wonderful thing, but as it turns out, you could be like a dog with a bone, but if you bark, two birds are in the bushes. Like, what? You missing like 4 or 5 analogies. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they're not saying anything. And I think that what David is trying to get through to Peyton, and even with his discussion to Christine, is that if he wants to have a real, deep, lasting relationship with anybody other than, himself, he's going to have to go deeper. Because ultimately, the cornerstone of you being able to have that kind of communicative discussion with somebody is a level of trust. And when you refuse to do that with your partner or a prospective partner, you're telling them, without telling them, I don't trust you. And if you don't trust your partner, how do you expect them to trust you? And trust you with their future, and trust you with their lives, their dreams, their hopes, things that they aspire to. You don't tell me anything. You tell me the next Batman movie's coming out in 2 years. And here I am trying to figure out how to buy a house. You know what I mean? Or how to get what job I want to go for. Or do I want to talk to my boss about a promotion and you want to start quoting a Joker? Like that, it just doesn't matter. Now, Christine came back. She retorted with something that I'm not a big fan of. When you utilize your past traumas, to create a point so that point can't be refuted. And I felt like she kind of did that a little bit. Well, I was married to Cody, because you were talking about Peyton. And then all of a sudden it was like, I was married to Cody and my life was such shit that I needed that escape of these movies. And I understand it. And I think that that's a point. However, at the same time, you were married to Cody. You needed the escape because you were in a bad situation. But at the same time, this is a lot like she mentioned that she had substance issue. This is that escape issue. If you have a substance issue, or you like to imbibe, or whatever the case may be, that's a form of escape. The problem is that when you escape, even though you escape for that small respite of an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, and you fall into that fantasy world, that movie or whatever the hell it is, the pill bottle or the booze bottle, when you fall into that at that time, your problems don't stop. Your problems are still there. You're just ignoring them for a little while. You're just not paying attention to them, but the problems are still there. And the bigger problem is if you continue to continuously ignore your problems, they just get bigger. They don't get smaller. They don't go anywhere. And I think that's a different conversation that they could have had. But she used it as a way to tail into like the whole question of polygamy, which I appreciate, because it's the natural form of a conversation too. Like, everything can't be, well, we're just talking about these points and that's it, because again, that falls into the failure of communication. But if that's what she does, and that's what they did, and David, to his credit, rolled with that, and they continued their conversation, that was them talking and sharing their perspective, their views. That's them actually being intimate. The ironic part is we watched a lot of time where Cody and Robyn will be on screen and they'll talk a lot of sex stuff, which is crazy because when Suki brings up the stuff that Cody said on television, all of a sudden Suki's going too far because all she wants to talk about is the sex stuff, and that's not appropriate. Y'all crossing all kinds of lines, even though I was talking about busting Robyn down for at least the last 7 episodes of this last season. Every episode this season so far, he talked about breaking Robyn a piece off. But now it's going to be too much when Suki brings it up. That's crazy. The ironic part is, and this is something you understand if you've ever been out in the world and you've been doing things, there's a difference between physical interaction with a human being and being intimate with them. A lot of times they folks try to make them synonymous, but they are not. You could have physical relations with somebody. I'm trying not to be too dirty. You could have physical relations with somebody, right? Blow their back out, in other words, and you don't have an intimate connection with that person. You could sit and have a conversation with somebody and in a way be more intimate, be more naked in front of that person, having a conversation where you actually express your thoughts and listen to them express theirs, and you exchange ideas and positions and what you think of the world. You share your hopes, your dreams, your passions, things that you care about. That brings you closer than even the physical act of doing certain activities. So what we watched Christine and David successfully be intimate on television in one episode, and they've eclipsed the attempts of Cody and Robyn, who have just been talking about physical attraction, physical intimacy, and just basically having sexual relations. And if you ask me, which relationship do I think has a better chance of surviving? Which has a better chance of lasting just on the surface? If you say to me, James, we have one couple where that physically they can't keep their hands off each other, or he can't keep his hands off her. She's pushing him off like, you know what I mean, like a nest of bees. But, you know, he's constantly clawing and pawing at her, trying to be physical with her. And then on the other hand, you have another couple who they sit and they talk and they share things about themselves. They share their past. They share their present, where they are now. They share where they want to be in the future and how they can get there together. Which couple do you think is going to last, James? And I would say the first couple sounds like kids in high school. Because in high school, you get excited and, you know, you're doing things that you never did before and it's new to you. And, oh, it's so amazing. It's so incredible. And you feel like you like the game shaker. You just sitting around like this all damn day. But as you start to mature, you start to develop, and you start to get into the idea that there's more to life and more to relationships than just the vertical mambo, then you recognize that, you know, you have at some point you're going to have a conversation with them. And it's going to matter what they say. And I think that that's the difference between the two. I do appreciate the fact that Sister Wives is attempting to give me something more to talk about than Cody and like how creepy he is with Robyn. So we're going to run with that. So that's the portion that I wanted to talk about with communication. That's my take. I'm James. This has been my take on reality, and I'm out.
Here with me, not scrolling free, not lost in streams or reality. You're here with me where you wanna be, out the algorithm. Just you and me. Could be watching cats knock glasses down, or a dude trying to stunt, stressed as a clown.